City News. She'll be talking on that subject tonight. Just a little about, this is only a little about what Lynda has done. She's been on the peninsula for about 20 years. She has 2 delightful sons. She has been the electorate officer for Teresa Gambaro. She organised the Katie's Crossing after that tragic accident up at the Redcliffe High School. She's been on P&C committees of at primary schools and high schools in the area here. Like me, she has been a fellow Citizen of the Year. I was back in 1990, back in Gippsland, Victoria. She was in 2003 the Citizen of the Year here. She carried the Olympic torch in 2000, a great honour, down at Sutton's Beach, wasn't it? Sutton's Beach, and the first edition of the Redcliffe City News was on the 12th of the 4th, 2005. And Lynda showed me the first edition, a copy of the first edition there tonight. I'm sure she'll bring back many memories to you tonight in her recitation. Please welcome Lynda Roberts.
Thanks very much. Right, I'm not going to read all these to you. I thought some of you might afterwards like to have a look at some of the headlines from the first year of the Redcliffe City News. It's quite interesting. It's all about Terry becoming the member of Redcliffe. Well, I am going to mention it. If you don't like it, just put some coins in that little box. Okay, and people like Niall Juster actually became an OAM at that stage in 2005. So lots of things happened in 2005. The reason that we started the Redcliffe City News was because the only outlet on the peninsula for anyone to gain news or promotion was the Redcliffe and Bayside Herald, which, as we all know, is a Murdoch paper. Whoops!
Oh yeah, the lecture's not well.
Yeah, no, obviously not. Okay. Mere mention of Murdoch and everything falls down.
Bruce, Terry fixed it last week.
Okay, like he fixed his leg. It's not really get it, Terry, but okay.
It usually is.
Okay, so we started it in 2005 as not an alternate to the Redcliffe and Bayside Herald, but as a community paper for people to get their message across without the great expense of advertising, etc., that was involved when you're dealing with some of the press papers. And they are a business, so that's what they do. I was the editor of the Peninsula Post. How many remember the Peninsula Post? Just about everyone here would remember that. That was a great paper for many, many years. We did a council thing called Council Insight, which caused a lot of drama over the years, because I would sit there at council meetings and just type. Whatever they said came out in the paper. So many times it was quite interesting, and I'm sure Ralph could tell you some of those stories.
Oh, you had many a typo.
That's what Peter Houston said. Okay, so that's the reason we started it, to give it a community. And because the Peninsula Post, Bob Bottom closed the Peninsula Post, a lot of that was due to the undercutting of advertising by the Herald. It just wasn't sustainable. But being as we were only a little A4 paper, and we printed at home, so when we first started, I got it printed by JT Press, and then I would sit at home folding every little paper. And then we decided to get a printer, so we actually printed 2,000 copies every week. Much to my sons, both my sons' annoyance, because the printer would go all night just plinking away, and every now and again somebody would have to get up and empty the basket so that some more papers could come out. And then, does anyone know Waldo? Well, Waldo Hayes. Well, Waldo was my distributor, and very faithfully, every week, Waldo would get the papers and he would distribute them around the peninsula for us. And he did that on a volunteer basis, which was just wonderful. There was a very good community spirit in Waldo in that regard. And of course, for that, he got his Bookie Busters printed every week and still does. I don't know how many follow that, but I'm not a thoroughbred person. I tend to be more of the standard with the harness racing.
You know where he prints that now?
Yes, but we're not allowed to say that. He gets to print it wherever he can. I think he gets copies from everyone. But we still are there. We don't print anymore. If people want Redcliffe City News, they print it for themselves. But for many years we did print it, and we were supported by the locals in advertising. We kept the advertising rates very low. And I was explaining to someone a little bit earlier of the initial problems we had with the Redcliffe City News. We wanted to put it into the tourism centres around Redcliffe. And we were told in no uncertain terms by the then CEO that that was not an appropriate place for a local paper. The comment we came back with was, well, the Redcliffe Herald's there, maybe that's not local. And the ultimatum was, well, either we allow the Herald in, allow the Redcliffe City News in, we have to take the Herald out. So consequently, we ended up getting Redcliffe City News into our tourism centres as well. So we feel that we did a good job at the time. It was my ex-husband and myself. He left halfway through the first year of the Redcliffe City News and left me to it, and I've been doing it on my own ever since, although I did get assistance from, as I said, Waldo. One of my sons, Ian, used to write a lot of the articles, and there he was, about 15 years of age, and he would proofread, which has worked well for him. He's a better speller than I am. He's very good at grammar and very good at spelling, so that was excellent. And the other person that helped was Steph. Anyone know Steph Schroeder? She helped me do all the advertising, collecting advertising from everyone. So the Redcliffe City News is still going. It's a mess at the moment on the website. If anyone's looked at it recently, we've had a hacker. But after 6 years, it's only the third time it's been hacked, so we're pretty lucky. We're about to change servers, we're about to renew the website. We're hoping we'll all be up and running on the 1st of August, which is the horse's birthday. So that's a date to remember. And we hope to be galloping ahead at that point. We actually started it on the day that a few years later, that the day that the Titanic was launched. And our initial comment was, and we're still floating. So we tried very hard. We've got community sections in there, we've got a calendar. We like lots of input from the community. It's got a bit smaller over the years because I've had lots of other jobs that I've needed to do as well. But I run it now as basically as a community paper. Doesn't make us a profit, it just sort of runs along. It's got a few advertisers in there, but we'd like some more. But on the website itself, we're getting an average of 800 visitors a day, which isn't bad for a little local website. And we've never been political. We've allowed both sides of politics to have their say, except for the last couple of weeks where I'm very, very much in favour of Redcliffe. So we've allowed the de-amalgamation issue to be printed. And funny enough, we've only ever had one side of it anyway. So that's good. But we tried to be apolitical all the way through. We've given all the state members, federal members, councillors, whatever opportunity they would like to take to put their message into the Redcliffe City News. We don't change it either, we don't edit it. So if they go in, if we have 2 spins on an issue, we put them side by side, particularly at election time, and then we let everyone else make up their own mind which is spinning which way. So basically we've got history, we've got a gallery of photos, and we have the whole history of the Redcliffe City News is there in back issues, so 310 issues have been done. And I'm very proud to say I've done every single one of them, with many sleepless nights, waking up in the morning and thinking, oh, did I remember to finish that? As I've fallen asleep on the computer. But I've had great support, and we feel it's a really good community thing. Has anyone got any questions on the Redcliffe City News?
Dean Wells is there every week. He produces that and gives that to you every week. And
Dean Wells has been an excellent supporter every week, and when Terry was in the same situation, he used to send things through every week as well. Dean rarely fails. He knows the rules. It is apolitical. He just gives information out on his site at election time. He usually opts out because he knows I don't like things to be heavily political. I'm very biased. Our local state member has been offered a place, but she doesn't think the Redcliffe City News exists. So she tends not to want to put anything in, but we have Dean Wells there. As I said, we give both sides of politics. Ralph will tell you that we used to give anything to the council in the Peninsula Post, and I followed through with that on the Redcliffe City News. We just like to get the information. It's more of an information sort of little magazine these days. It's really not a newspaper anymore, but you can print it out. So that's what we do, and that's one of the things I do. As I said, I've got my MV Real Estate. I still do a fair bit of charity work around the place. I did the pet parade recently at the Redcliffe show, and we got a duck was the winning animal this year, so that was quite fun. So I'm still doing a lot of community work, but I do like to keep it Redcliffe. I just think the community feeling in Redcliffe is very, very important. I mean, when you look around the room here, I mean, Gomersall, I mean, you've got streets there. You started was it your grandfather or great-grandfather? Grandfather started the Paceway?
Grandfather's brother.
Yep, grandfather's brother. So, you know, the Redcliffe Paceway and Gomersall Street. And actually, that was a little story in itself. I was working at the Redcliffe Paceway and walking down one end of the street, and Gomersall was spelt with, I think, one M, and on the other end, it was spelt with two M's. So we got on to John Brady at the council at the time and said, excuse me, can you please check what it's supposed to be? So, but I have worked at Redcliffe Paceway, and I said the Gomersalls are involved there. I mean, Maddie's been around for a long time, and no offence. You are younger than me, but I'll forgive you.
Maddie, whatever it takes, Maddie, whatever it takes.
And I think, Terry, aren't you in one of the original farmhouses in the area? Isn't that where your home is?
Yeah, I lived there 50 years ago.
Yeah, when you were in nappies, yeah.
Still isn't my home.
And we've got
Not allowed.
Michael is sort of from the pharmacies, and we've got so many people in Redcliffe that have been here for a long, long time, and their parents and their grandparents have been here. And I think the most surprising thing was I interviewed a lady when I was on the Peninsula Post, and she was about 90, around about 90. I can't even remember her name now. But I was sitting talking to her, and I asked her what she thought of the changes in Brisbane. And she said, I've never been to Brisbane, I've never been over the bridge. And I said, you are kidding me, aren't you? Surely you have. She said, why would you need to? Everything you can ever want is here in Redcliffe. Except there's no ice skating rink. You've actually got to go to Burnville or there. Other than that, you've got everything you need here in Redcliffe, and I think the more of us realise that, the better we'll retain our community spirit, and I think that's so important. And that's why the Redcliffe City News has never become the Moreton Bay News. It is still the Redcliffe City News, and it's redcliffecity.com.au, simple as that. We took Redcliffe City because the council never registered Redcliffe City. So we learned that one from Brisbane, because Brisbane never registered Brisbane City, which is why you ended up with Brisbane now. Okay, so as soon as we realised that, we registered Redcliffe City. And so that's another thing. We want to retain that, and that's what we're going to do.
If you do amalgamate, you can sell it back to them.
What, to the Redcliffe City?
Yeah.
Oh, well, might just be their official website. You just never know, do you?
Oh, well, they'll pay you the big money.
Dream on, Ralph. Dream on.
You know why your paper's getting thin, don't you?
Because Redcliffe's getting smaller? No.
No, you're down to 2 councillors.
Oh, is that? And just interestingly, I get the newsletter from Councillor Houghton, but interestingly, I no longer get column or information from either of the councillors. Everything comes through head office, would you say?
Robert?
Yeah. No, not Robert Draycott.
Oh,
It all comes from no relation, Darren Roberts. So he's no relation, but it all comes from the Mayor's office. We get nothing from the actual councillors themselves. Everything has to come through the Mayor's office.
You've got to be in control.
Any questions?
So, yeah, sometimes there's a turning point, like a newspaper like yours does something that's changed the influence or changed the point of focus in Redcliffe. Can you give us one of those?
I can actually give you a couple, but there's two main ones with regard to that, and one was Katie's Crossing. Okay, I was the Vice President of Redcliffe State High School when Katie got killed. Now, we had been for a long time, like 14 years, which was the age of Caitlin. 14 years that school had been lobbying the state government to do something about that road. Because I had the Redcliffe City News, I was getting all the press releases in from all the various members, ministers, departments, police, everything about it. So I was able to actually help coordinate that. And because of the Redcliffe City News, I could print the truth, not the spin. And in that particular issue, we certainly did. It was quite interesting because as soon as it happened,